But let's turn our attention to what's the situation in Ukraine by speaking to Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Policy Advisor, ex-member of Parliament, politician, journalist, activist, and optimist Svitlana Zalishchuk, who joins us on the line now from Ukraine. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for coming on our program. We appreciate you taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you for having me.
Vitaly Klitschko, who is the mayor of Kiev and also a former world heavyweight boxing champion, has put a video out this morning saying that Kiev won't fall. Kiev won't fall. Give us a sense of what the situation in Ukraine is right now.
Situation is deteriorating, actually, because it feels like Putin not going to stop. First, he thought that it probably would be a victorious war within 2 days, and somehow Ukrainians would welcome the liberators, but it turned out to be a humiliation for him and international isolation, but also loss of his authority in his country, but also in the whole world. But at the same time, this kind of situation is making it even more dangerous, because we experienced during the last couple of days a massive shelling of the civilian areas and attacks on civilians. So we have hundreds of people killed, civilian people killed, and we have 24 of children also killed under this challenge. We have maternity hospitals destroyed in Zhytomyr, near Kyiv, in the east of the country, so many of them also around the country. So they're also trying to encircle Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine. It looks like the aim is to make the government surrender and maybe impose a puppet government, which is, of course, unacceptable for Ukrainians who elected our president, our government, our parliament in a democratic way. So we experienced this horrifying attack on democracy, and we believe that it's a blow not only on Ukraine, it's a blow on humanness, on dignity, on rule of law and rule-based order in the whole world.
People from all walks of life, Alexander Usyk, the boxer, footballers, sports stars, pensioners have been walking up to join the Ukraine Defense Force. Does that characterize the spirit of the Ukrainian people?
Everyone now trying to find its own way of how do we protect our home, because we do not attack. We defend our houses, our gardens, our children, our grandparents. You know, we live here. We have no other choice. We can't emigrate. 40 million people can't emigrate somewhere. So there is a feeling that, it's an instinct of kind of survival. It's not about politics anymore. It's not about ideology. It's about, that there is an evil who attacked us. We were a peaceful country, never threatened anyone, and now we have to make sure that we defend our kids, and you're right. People across all of the professions join army. My brother, he's a businessman. He has nothing to do with military. He took a gun and he joined a territorial defense unit to protect the capital now. And you also said that a lot of sportsmen joined army, and we see also first casualties amongst them. For example, today in the morning, I've read this very sad news about two football players, Vitaly Sapilo, who was only 21, and Dmytro Martynenko, who is 25. And Vitaly Sapilo, he was a goalkeeper in Lviv's youth team, and he should have been catching balls, not the bullets. But unfortunately, he was killed today.
Sport in this country has been visible in its support for Ukraine. What does that do? What message does that send? And does it have any impact at all?
The impact of sport, you mean, or?
Does the impact of the messaging?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Can you?
Yeah, I know it's a chaotic situation there. Well, the point I'm making is that a lot of gestures are being made by sports organizations, by fans inside football grounds here, people holding up Ukrainian flags, raising the awareness of the situation that is happening in Ukraine and showing quite partisan support for the people of Ukraine. Does that make
Yes,
any difference?
yes, absolutely. We feel solidarity and unity across the world, and it does help us to also build our unity in this country. We felt that what we are standing for. It's not just independence of Ukraine, but it's some human rights and something very human. It's humanness, That's why it resonated around the world so much. And looking at those flags and looking at those sanctions that have been imposed just recently, and this resistance and resilience that is being built amongst our partners is extremely helpful because we feel that we are not alone. But also, which is most important thing, is that we need to stop Putin, and we can stop it only if the whole world will be united and stood up to him.
Svitlana, it was horrible to read that statement from FIFPro this morning about the two young footballers that tragically have lost their lives. We heard yesterday about the manager of Sheriff Tiraspol, a Moldovan team who has crossed the border to help Ukraine defend themselves against Russia. Is it possible for you to quantify the number of professional sports people or sports coaches that have actually joined the conflict and are fighting on behalf of Ukraine? Do you have any idea of the numbers?
Unfortunately, I don't have those numbers at the moment. And, people very often don't announce it publicly. They just take the guns. They just, join this territorial defense unit. So I think this concerns people around the whole country in all of the cities, and we unfortunately find out about what's happening already when they were either wounded or dead. This is the real situation on the ground.
Svitlana, obviously it's such a dangerous and heartbreaking situation in the Ukraine, but how long can the resistance continue without outside help?
Well, it's a difficult question, First of all, I would like to say that there is help. Of course, there is help, and we receive weapon and humanitarian aid now from many countries in the world. And I would like to say thank you on behalf of my nation, on behalf of my government, to all of you who is helping us. First of all, to your government that is providing a great support, but also to ordinary people who is sending just small donations. Who support our army or who support our people. Now, coming to the question, you ask how long can it last? I think first of all, it's a question really to Putin. How long he will be ready to act in this way? What is happening is proper war crimes and crimes against humanity. And probably that International Criminal Court already started the procedure to prosecute, to investigate these war crimes in Ukraine. And I have no doubt that it will be a Nuremberg process of 21st century. But at the same time, the question is when and what price we will pay. But I can tell you from Ukrainian perspective that army today is not going to surrender. Ukrainian president is not going to surrender. Just 7 days ago, we were somehow divided. We had different political views and preferences and so on. But today, it's a one united nation supporting our leaders and supported by very courageous army to protect what we have. It's our home, so basically have no choice.
Svitlana, your bravery, your courage, your stoicism is applauded, and we cannot believe that the tragedies that are unfolding in that area of the world. I hope that you are safe, and I hope, but I envisage that you are. I hope you're not, but I envisage that you are incredibly scared right now.
I'm not scared, to be honest. I feel rather guilty, because I personally left Kyiv, which is my hometown, and I feel guilty because so many people stayed there. And I to be honest, I want to go back, and I also want to join the territorial defense. However, my family would not allow me to do that, and I'm doing other stuff to support people. I help with evacuation. I help with humanitarian aid. I'm dealing with some energy supplies because Ukraine will face a major problem with the security of supplies of the energy resources. So this is my job now, but I feel guilt because for so many people it's even more devastating than for me. I lost my home. I mean, all my home now is just one suitcase that I carry with me. That's it, But many people are losing their lives and their children and their grandparents, and this is awful. This is impossible to reconcile. It's unjustifiable. It's unforgivable. And I think that we have to make sure that we do everything possible to stop it together.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us and taking the time to speak to us this morning. That was obviously quite a heartbreaking discussion, and we do appreciate you coming on today to discuss it with us here on talkSPORT this morning. That was Svitlana Zalishchuk, the former Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Policy Advisor and ex-Member of Parliament of the UK government.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.